Greetings, I am RSV. So, as I mentioned yesterday, I will be going over the aspects I am excited for from the headline in this video. But first, remember to support casts everywhere by dressing up as a cast. More cast parts means more happy casts. Let's get on with the video. So, what am I looking forward to from the headline? We will start with the release of Retem itself, and then move on to the roadmap in each section. I am rather excited that all the elemental type text will finally be in the game. On top of this, additional skill points and PA could make classes feel a lot more complete. This goes for the roadmap as well, when they add extra level progression / more PA. For the classes that will probably end up being my main again, Gunner, they showed off an upwards movement PA, which is honestly a godsend. And most likely there is at least one other PA they haven't shown off as yet, as well as skill tree. I'm excited to try out all these new toys. And honestly, I think that the addition of a lot of PAs to a lot of these classes could help them feel better and feel more complete, and fix a lot of the problems people have with them, because free PAs for a lot of classes is just not enough. Otherwise, I'm fairly happy that Retem isn't time-gating battle tier and gifts this time around. This start should be a lot more healthy for the game in general. Not to mention, the Christmas event starts a week later, granting us temporary content as well. And there are potentially systems that support replaying these pieces of content. If they decide to bring up Alio content to 35 as well, I think it will be even better, especially if all gathering zones have a rank 2 at level 35 as well, as it would make enemies more entertaining for farming Ale Domina and Ret Domina. Yes, I'm assuming the Retem meta augment will be Ret Domina. I'd like to see Re Domina, but I just don't think it will happen. They are dropping quite a few weapon series at launch as well, and appear to be covering all weapon types with them at the moment. They will probably have 3 series similar to Catlia, Forsus, and Vialto however, where they only cover a few weapon types. But I'd be ecstatic if they cover all weapon types though. I know that is a big ask. If they drop 6-star weapons some point during the future, I'll also be less worried down the line. Keeping people interested for 6 months isn't easy after all, and again, rarity bias is a problem. People are reluctant to pursue new things when it comes to equipment of the same rarity, even if one is objectively better than the other. For example, Atlas and Crass, or Atlas and Riverlate. People were genuinely reluctant to upgrade from Atlas to Riverlate, and from Atlas to Crass as well, because they were the same star rarity. And also because they spent so long with the weapon that they grew attached to it. But the point here being is that not everyone has an MMO mentality in Pso2, and I think this needs to be accounted for. Some people are just around for the ride or fashion. They're not going to actively pursue things unless they're encouraged to. I'm not saying make content easier for them by any stretch of the means either. If people are complaining that the content is too hard, their gear should be checked first. And if they aren't pursuing gear, then the problem is the gear progression, not that content is too difficult. And I think this was the case to some degree with the original Gigantics and the really quick storms. But I digress. Gear should encourage the player to pursue it though, and this is my point. One way of doing this is making the better gear higher rarity than leveling gear, as leveling gear should be clearly leveling gear and endgame gear should be clearly endgame gear. Every time they drop new weapons, I'm excited to see the potentials they drop, and I'm hoping for some more quirky interactions. It would be nice if they dropped Gix-style weapon potentials, a lot of power at a high risk, or just make weapons more exciting this time around. On the roadmap, they also teased high-ranked sectors. I did mention hope they will make Alio regions a rank 2 to scale them up to be at least playably relevant during Retem, but they have at least confirmed that during the roadmap's period, there will be a level cap increases with a corresponding high-rank sector dropping. Hopefully this means new equipment to grind and actually difficult zones to grind in. I'm excited that it could mean this, but I won't get my hopes up to be honest. The Fixa augment system change is a good change, don't get me wrong. I still think it needs to be a tad more flexible than what they are giving us though, like adding 2 Fixa 1s together to make a Fixa 2 for example, but I am at least happy that non-fixed weapons can now be used without worry. On the roadmap, they have also teased 4 urgent quests, 2 of which are limited. However, they are finally dropping urgent quest triggers, so let us hope they are accompanied by a vendor that makes acquiring them reasonable. Or just have them to be the drops at the end of the urgent quest, like in base game. I think it is a good addition for the game's health, though again, if they don't do anything to make players want to do things, it's kind of a moot point. And having said that, Under rarity element weapons or element weapons that aren't covering a good chunk of enemies also aren't a good reward to do that with. They need a little more than just a future potential weapon camo if they ever drop that system again. Let's go over some more minor things I'm happy with, but I also may have some grievances with them, so they didn't really get a main spot on the list. The return of new Trainia. I would be ecstatic about them if they showed off a daily to go redo them or something like that, but unless they have some replayability feature tied to them, they are more of a disappointment to me, but I am excited to do them for the first time around for that one skill point or free. Return of seasonal urgent quests. I am fairly happy about this. Seasonal urgent quests are very important to the health of events in Pso2, I feel, as they make the events feel a lot more dynamic and a lot larger than they actually are, changing an aspect of the world like that by adding an actual alert that has to be done. The roadmap is suggesting that Sega is taking the game's health into account, which is a good thing. And it means that they're partially responding to player feedback and listening to us. I think that Sega has really listened to feedback to some degree. I don't think that they've quite understood what it means though, and we'll just have to wait and see if they have understood what the problem was with the game. Because, as I've said before, it doesn't matter if they add all the content in the world. If the content isn't replayable and people can't actually enjoy it for longer than 2 seconds, then it's not 8 years worth of content, it's 2 seconds worth of content. Side story being teased. I'm happy there's more to speculate about. They definitely needed more story, even if it is side story. In conjunction with the main story, they will probably be dropping. I'm also excited for the potential of a Barlodo style boss fight with the giant sandworm. I will be really happy if it's a more dynamic Barlodo style boss fight. They have the cards in hand to assure victory, but will they make the play? Will they use the cards they have to make a great game? We can only find out once they drop Retem. And as promised, my Should You Come Back to Pso2 Ngs video will be up at the same time tomorrow as this one. Remember to consider subscribing and leave a like or comment if you enjoyed this video. Otherwise, I will see you next time.